Good afternoon, and welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane and our Book Chat Thursday. I am W.D. Foster Graham, and I am the book review editor for Insight News. On the Conversation with Al McFarlane, we provide, hey, robust conversations, lively conversations, informative and inspiring conversations that come from all walks of the African and African American diaspora. We have, in terms of our subscribership, surpassed 1,000 subscribers, and we're shooting for 2,000. So, if you like our content, please like, share with your friends, your followers, and subscribe to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. Also, in addition to being a book review editor, I am also an author, and it is my pleasure to announce that a release of my latest Christopher family novel series, which is known as To Thine Own Self, to kick off Pride Month. It will be taking place on Saturday, June 1st, 2024, at the Stride Bookstore, located at 901 Nicollet Mall, Minneapolis, from 1 to 3 p.m. So, hey, I believe in let us go ahead and start our Pride Month with a little romance, because yeah, I'm all for romance in all its forms. Now, I would like to take this time to introduce our guest author for Book Chat Thursday. Is Brother Albert Briscoe, and he writes under the pen name also of Below. He is an author, entrepreneur, orator, and prison literary advocate striving towards the opportunity to raise the literacy level in underserved communities across America. Writing, pioneering innovations, community interaction, and mentoring youth has allowed his experience to inspire confidence and change in those that have been challenged by illiteracy. A seventh grade dropout and a five-time repeat felon that has experienced over 10 years of incarceration, Mr. Briscoe chose to reevaluate the importance of education and pursue a crime-free lifestyle. Following this, he accepted the challenge of becoming accomplished and began to make a transition. As he says, instead of entertaining the pacifying distractions of prison life, I accepted the time I was given and chose to treat the experience like college. His passion for contributing towards improving reading and comprehension skills inspired his interaction that involves positively motivating and mentoring inner city youth and troubled adults to obtain a strong work ethic and acquire enhanced life and business skills. Utilizing books to identify skill sets is a strategy used to reach the youth he interacts with in order to improve our community's literary level. His passion directed him to found the literary campaign To Succeed, You Must Read, that advocates the importance of reading to young people in underserved communities in the greater Twin Cities area. I had the honor of first meeting brother AJ at the Minnesota Black Authors Expo, and I am definitely pleased to introduce to you. And again, welcome back once again, Albert AJ Briscoe.
Hey, thank you for the beautiful introduction, WD Foster Graham. And I do intend on being in attendance for that book signing you got coming up.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, what I'd like to ask you first of all, I think before we get into it, because we will be sharing some excerpts from your books of Changing Places, volumes 1 and 2, but let our readers know and our viewers about To Succeed You Must Read and your advocacy with this.
Well, To Succeed, You Must Read is an initiative that I formulated based on my observation of poor reading levels in our community. It started with one of my offspring, struggling with his reading, which was affecting his academic performance in school, which was bringing on behavior problems. So I wanted to diagnose the core of what the mass what the mass problem is with a lot of our young people that suffering from behavior problems, and I discovered that it came from illiteracy, not knowing how to communicate their emotions, their feelings, not being able to find the words to describe what's going on with them in their life. So with that, I start researching how to teach other individuals how to read. At first, the Procedure Must Read Literacy Initiative was just encouraging young people how to read, and then I partnered with some other organizations that were through my research and me wanting to do more than that. I partner with them to actually learn how to teach others how to read, teach them the basics of reading, so that I could have even a greater impact on the young people that I interacted with, and some of the troubled adults that I've spoken on, that I interacted with here in the community.
And that there's still a great need for that. Now, I may have grown up with parents that pushed me to read, but not every child has that blessing of having that. And so I also think of the slogan, "Let it begin with me." So when it came to reading, tell me how it started with you.
I actually I didn't read my first book until I found myself. I was incarcerated as a juvenile, and I picked up a book and I actually read Malcolm X. I know that might seem, or sound like, it might be a little too much, but I was a straight A student throughout my the time that I attended school. Uh, like my bio read, I did drop out in the seventh grade, but I was highly advanced. So reading wasn't a problem for me. I just never did it. I never had nobody to encourage me to read. Um, I never had. It wasn't individuals in my environment that were high strung on reading books. So when I picked up a book, I discovered the power of reading, and it changed and impacted me greatly, and it changed my life.
So indeed, indeed. Hey, when we read, also we learn that hey, to be a good writer is being a good reader, and and you yourself have done that. And I think about too, without a test, there is no testimony. So when I was reading Changing Places and stuff, and I was thinking about you know, what we've talked about, in how what ways would you consider these two books a testimony?
Um, they say, it's a lot of truth written in fiction.
Oh,
So,
indeed.
yeah, coming up, in the lifestyle that I came up in, it was kind of taboo to talk about certain things. So I learned uh, that I could express the things that I couldn't talk about to others, that I had experienced. I learned how I could I could mask it in writing. So uh, a lot of the content that formulates the changing places, the volumes, it comes from life experience. So the testament, well, most people who read the book, they think that it's like my biography or something. So it's
Mhm.
closer than truth than it is fiction, it seems. You know, so this is a true testament in a sense, but it's also fabricated. Um, I utilize a lot of logical lessons, I would say, logical things in the book to spark the reader's interest, to keep the storyline interesting. So I use not only my truths but also the communities, the society's truths to outline the storyline of this book. To create a true testament.
Indeed, and it is definitely a testimony. Um, now, when I think of the characters like Mel and Davida and Harold, like J Rock and Little Harold and Old Girl, uh, what were your inspirations to bring that brought these characters to life? Because I agree with you that you provide enough truth to add a touch of reality to the story, which makes it kind of stand out from what I say about urban fiction.
Yeah, actually, all the names in these books are real people.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so I kind of I mixed up their characters, the characteristics of the characters with the true people. So I use names that I use real names of people that I knew, and I took some um of their characteristics to formulate the characters in the book, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Yep. So I believe every single character in here is a real person, and it is that they're descriptive of a real individual.
Yes, that's true. I admit when I wrote my first novel about Mark My Words, my main character was based on characters like my dad, some of my uncles, and people like John H. Johnson and A.G. Gaston, those who were those movers and shakers back at the time. So yeah, it adds to the authenticity. Now, when it comes to the no place, um, I noticed that yeah, you did include also photographs to add to the authenticity of your books. Now, were some of them in Chicago, some of them Minneapolis, or what?
Um, it was all Minneapolis.
Hmm.
I know that you know the culture of Minnesota uh, involves Chicagoans, people from Chicago.
Hmm.
So Chicago's like Minnesota's cousin almost. You know what I mean? So I know that that was another thing that would spark readers' interest. And something that it'll be something that they'll be able to relate to, Chicago, and the transition to Minnesota and back and forth. So I kind of just used um, the whole ideal of Chicago because I've only been to Chicago to visit, a few times. I
Hmm.
haven't lived there, so I just used some of the things that I knew and mixed it in with the Minnesota culture. You see, as I brought it back to Minnesota.
There you go. There you go. So, changing places. What was your inspiration for the title?
um, it was the character of Harold. Him being a drug kingpin, a renowned street guy, street character, um, and then experiencing life, uh, having having different things happen in his life that provoked a change in him. With his influence, being as impactful as it was, in the storyline. Um, I thought that he would be the perfect example of someone changing places. So, it went from, you know, the streets, to uh, being a businessman or changing his life, being a positive influence on those that he had influence upon. So that kind of inspired, the whole concept of changing places. And like I said, the book is also, it's closely related to my own experience, my own testament from going, from coming from going to prison and being in the streets to um, totally changing my life, to dedicating myself to my community and my family. And I say this and humor a lot, but also it's descriptive and it's very true of my walk. But I tell people, I went from slanging crack to slanging paperbacks.
Hey, okay, all right. And I say, I give you all your props, my brother. So that being said, can you share an excerpt from Changing Places?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I actually dedicated this book to my son. And I dedicated this, I wrote this book, and he may have just been born, but and now he dons the cover of the sequel of Changing Places. It's my son on there now. So I'm gonna start, in the beginning.
Okay.
I think to kind of give you an idea of where Harold was at in his mind state, that's really in relation to the book title of Changing Places.
Sounds
Um,
good.
uh, so this kind of describes the craftiness of Harold's upbringing. It says Harold told, and it's speaking of when he had just met Davita. Um, it said Harold told her to open an ashtray to get the weed and papers. She rolled up, lit it, and thought, "Oh yeah, I got me another one, but I might have to play him a little longer because this weed is fire." By the time they got to the park, they were blown. To her surprise, Harold had everything in order for the picnic. Throughout the entire time of the picnic, Harold was making moves on Davita, but she rejected every one. Harold was outraged after he dropped her off because he had struck out. The following three times he took her out, he still had no luck. Randomly, Harold had asked Davita to a Patti LaBelle concert. She gladly accepted his offer. While going to pick her up, he stopped by the pawn shop and paid for the chain he had put on layaway to surprise her. When he pulled up, he honked and Davita came right out. When she opened the door to sit down, she seen a box sitting on a seat with a ribbon wrapped around it. She said, "What's this?" He said, "Just grab it and get in." She picked up the box and sat in the car. "I wanted you to look and feel extra special tonight, so I got you something to make that happen. Open it." She opened it and her eyes lit up in the sight of a gold necklace with a moon medallion dangling from it. She said, "You like it?" "Yeah." "Well, lean over here and let me put it on for you." When she leaned over, Harold connected the chain on her neck, then kissed her softly. He didn't try to reject his kiss. She didn't try to reject his kiss because she thought the gesture was sweet, but quickly thought to herself that no matter how nice the gesture was, he still wasn't getting any coochie. They had fun at the concert, and Harold was furious that Davita asked to be taken home right after the concert was over. He had thoughts of getting it on tonight, and it wasn't looking good. On the way home, Harold asked Davita with a confused expression on his face, "Don't you want me, baby girl?" And Harold, "I like you, but I'm just not ready for a relationship yet, and I don't think you are either." Harold argued that, but Davita didn't change her feelings. He was pissed and tired of playing Casanova. Harold had a problem with PCP, which is wet gorilla piss or water. When you smoke this particular drug, it will make you do some crazy things like get naked. He knew she liked smoking weed, so he plotted to dip some of the joints that he was going to smoke with Davita to get her to get out of her clothes. Davita called on a Friday and she said she wanted to go out. He reluctantly promised to take her out because he usually made good money hustling on Fridays. When he picked her up, he knew she would ask about some weed. So when she did, he told her, "Baby, I already got one roll. Look in the ashtray." She lit the stick and said, "This weed smells funny." Harold told her that it was Indo and it was supposed to smell like that. About 3 minutes later, she confessed that she was high as a smoke detector and didn't want to go to the club. She just wanted to chill. Harold had already been driving towards the park. Before they got there, she had already started tripping and stripping. The park was empty, which was perfect for what Harold had in mind. Harold tried to kiss on her, but she denied him. So Harold, knowing that she was high and tripping off the PCP, forced herself on her. She struggled a little bit, but he pinned her down. When he finished, Davita saw the blood from where her chastity had been stolen and freaked out. She jumped out of the car and started running through the park yelling, "I lost my baby." And that was um, an insert that was descriptive of a couple things, the power of some of the drugs that are available in our community, what they'll do to you, how they'll make you react, and also the mind state of a confused individual not knowing how to properly engage with a woman or accept the whole process of courting, being that he may feel like he's entitled um, due to, providing small things like uh, allowing her to smoke weed or buying her a necklace. And now he may feel like it's an obligation um, for her to give in to his desires. So that's what that was kind of descriptive of, describing Harold's, his train of thought at the time, having a young mind, and the lengths he'll go to get what he wanted.
It also sounds like he really didn't have a role model to teach him otherwise. Would you agree?
Definitely.
Hmm. That kind of shows up because I know when I was reading it, I realized that Harold ultimately paid a price for that.
Yeah, he did. He paid a price in the sense of, um, not being able to. When you read the story, it goes on and it reveals that, through that incident right there, it brought on, little Harold, which is a child that him and Davita had. But he also thought that he had killed Davita. Um, and it caused him to get strung out on drugs, kind of lose his way. And with that, the story just progresses.
Yes, indeed it does. I think we mentioned before airtime about the fact that as we fast forward into the second portion of changing places, yeah, that the street life is self-destructive, but at the same time, it's not easy to leave it. So could you elaborate for our viewers?
Oh yeah. That's definitely a true statement, Mr. Foster Brown. Um, the street, I always describe it like this when I'm talking to my grandkids or my kids. I'll tell them when it's incident behavior involved, or if they got some going on that they shouldn't really be entertaining. I let them know that, a lot of things are easy to get into, but hard to get out of, So, with me personally, um, I was conditioned in the selling drugs. It was easy for me. Selling drugs was easy because it was second nature. It was my thing to do, and like I also mentioned before that It was one of the hardest things for me to stop selling drugs, and it was hard for me to get out. You know, you hear some things like about gang life and the street life. They're like, you can get in it, but you got to do this to get out, or you got to. And it's not necessarily, you know, that extreme, but at the same time, when you're trying to do the right thing, you know, if you take that mind state on when you're trying to do the right thing, you still got those negative people around you, those same people around you, and that makes it hard to get out of that mind state of doing whatever you was doing. You know, it makes it hard to get out of that mind state. And they tell you when you're dealing with when you're dealing with recovery or people with addiction. You know, I also, you know, that's a profession that I'm involved in as well, dealing with people, you know, in reentry and recovery. But you know, one thing they say and that they advise strongly is that you change your people, places, and things, and that's one of the things that you have to do. And if you're not, if you can't displace yourself, you know, from an environment, you know, like say we grew up in our community, in this neighborhood. If you can't displace yourself in a different geographical location, if you can't change your location, you know, your geographical location, then you got to change your mind state. And it may be a hard thing to do because, like I said, you wired up a certain way, and then you have to, you know, strip those wires and wire yourself up the right way with the right information. Um, and that was something that I had to endure that. And with that, that was something that I didn't want, you know, others to have to endure. So I've been thinking, you know, I just thought about the best ways I might be able to get others to get that, you know, to get that whole concept of um, you know, not having to follow, you know, the footsteps of another in front of you if it's not led in positivity and productivity. Um, and that's just
Yes.
kind of, you know, my take on that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I've heard that basically, yeah. Make sure you think very carefully about the people we surround ourselves with. Are they going to lift us up or are they going to bring us down? So that is so true. Um, there was a statement that Harold made, and I believe he made it to Mel. He was telling him, so far as hustling, always look at this as temporary. Don't make it permanent. Could you elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, and with that statement, you know, Harold was instilling in Mel um, entrepreneurial skills. He
Mm,
was that's what he was doing. He was instilling entrepreneurial skills in him, but Mel had already experienced some street life, and it was a little tempting to him, you know. So he wanted to he he wanted to get him to understand that, you know, this is nothing that you can make a career out of.
right.
Um, yeah, I believe you mentioned that it's not no 401k and this lifestyle. Ain't no daycare plan.
Mm,
You know, it's no benefits to this way of life. You know, so um, make sure that it's short lived. You don't want to make, you know, a career out of making bad decisions and ending up in bad places. And Harold was the perfect example. You know, he was walking what he was talking because he had, you know, he had experienced, male experience, the influence that Harold had on the neighborhood, that he had on the community. So, you know, he looked up to him, and he listened to what he said. So Harold made sure that he chose his words wisely with Mel. He made sure that he guided him and directed him, um, you know, with some real insight instead of just um, I think the norm of just coming up in that environment. um, and he wanted to give him, he wanted to make sure that Mel could tap into his vision. He could tap into his skill sets. So he was relating things that were going on in the streets to to things that were recognized in corporate America and in the corporate world, the working, the normal working man's life. He was pointing these things out to give Mel to understand um, that it was more than just uh, growing up running the streets, selling drugs, gang banging, going crazy.
Thank you, brother AJ. And on that note, we're going to take time out for a little break, and then we'll be back to talk about more about changing places and about creating change.
If you've not done so, consider getting vaccinated against the COVID 19 virus. At vaccine.gov, enter your zip code, your preferred vaccine type, and you'll get a map with locations eager to serve you. Getting vaccinated saves lives. Vaccine.gov can help you do your part.
And, well, we're back. The Conversation with Al McFarlane and our guest author, Albert A.J. Briscoe, also known as B. Lowe. And I have a couple of questions to ask you pertaining to one, the book, and two, just if we're looking at the state of our community. One, um, what would what how did you see the contrast between Mel and Little Harold in turn, because they both had the same father, but their lives turned out in completely different directions? And number two, what are the things that we can do as a community to stop the school to prison pipeline?
Okay, could you do me a favor, Mr. Foster Graham, and repeat that first question for me?
Okay. Now, in the book, Harold has two sons. He has Mel and Little Harold. And what I would ask is, how do you see the contrast between the two in terms of they had the same father, but they went in different directions?
Okay, so with the brothers, with Little Harold and Mel, um, they both had totally different experiences.
Mm,
Um, we know that Little Harold, we know that Mel, you know, he had some consequences to his behavior, and it was able to unfold, and I think that Little Harold had not had any consequences to the the initial decisions he was making in regards to how he was going to live his life. He didn't have anything going on to make him think a different way, So, Mel actually, his mother was killed behind his personal, behind his actions,
right.
and that was one of the pivoting moments for Mel in the storyline in regards to him changing places. Um, because it was more than just Harold. The story of changing places, change happened to more than just Harold, and I wanted to make sure that I had outlined that in different individuals' situations, just to reiterate that change can happen, and it's not magical. It doesn't just happen once. It happens, to those who are seeking it. And I think I outlined in the sense of say even old girl going through addiction. She was bad. She was strung out bad, but change did come in her life when she felt like she had some purpose. She wanted to get her daughter back. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Harold gave her some purpose because he believed in her, gave her something to do. So that's where I think the contrast comes in with Harold. I mean, with Mel and Little Harold. Um, Little Harold had he didn't have what Mel had either, in the sense of having a father present, because most of Little Harold's life, Harold was in prison. So he had the opportunity to stray from some of the principles that Harold had instilled in Mel. So little Harold chose, to entertain the street life. And with that, with the information he got from that, he had formulated his own opinion about his brother, because he didn't feel like his brother was making the decisions that he should make, because Mel wasn't entertaining the same type of lifestyle. He was aware of the consequences that came from some of the actions that he chose to make, and the decisions he chose to make. So I guess Little Harold's inexperience in regards to decision making, and him not having a lot of uh, things come down in his life that'll make him think about his thinking, or think about his live the way he's living. I think that brought on that contrast, because little Harold took pride. He took pride in being Harold's son, and his renowned reputation of the street life, what he did in the street. He only glorified what he did in the streets that was negative. And Mel took the positive that Harold was doing, and he let that inspire him. So Harold, owning businesses, the barbershop, restaurant, property, those type of things, he allowed that to affect him, opposed to, little Harold allowing the stories he heard about his dad's reputation of back in the day, selling drugs and other. He allowed that to affect him, and that's how they had taken on different paths.
Yeah, that will do it. There's no doubt about that. And so that being said, so far as my second question, as a community, what are the things that we can do to stop the school to prison pipeline?
So one of the things that can be done is this. We can start investing in ourselves and supporting one another. And I say that in the sense of just observing my community. When I go down Lake Street is like Mexico, it's Somali, like the Somali country. We see other cultures doing things that we should be doing. We should be paying attention to even the Hmong. The Hmong, they're buying their own churches and schools, and these are things that we should be paying attention to. The unification of these cultures, the unity that they display, is something that we need to take a lesson on, regarding that. But being the example first by investing in ourselves, so that we can give our young people opportunity. We can instill traits and skills in them that they can utilize to earn and provide, for themselves. One of my things is I try to have 10 incomes. I'm shooting for to have 10 incomes, but saying that, it's just like this, and this is related to changing places as well. It could be like, I can't ask my son or my nephew, or no young person around me, to stop selling drugs, or to stop robbing, doing whatever they're doing to generate an income for themselves, and for to just change their life, just to do it. I can't stop. I mean, I can't ask them to stop doing what they're doing, and I don't have nothing to replace their income with. I can't tell him to stop selling drugs. He might be making $1,500 a day, living nice, and I'm telling him, man, start doing it right there. You need to start being positive, doing all this preaching to him, and turning around and expecting him to do that and not have anything to fall back on, no income, no means of getting income, not even knowing where to start to how to earn the income. So that's one of the things that we have to do. We have to have something to be able to replace the things that they are doing that might be a problem in our community. We've seen that what we deem to be a problem or causing problems in our. What's really causing problems is that we're not out investing in these young people. A lot of the elders are scared to deal with the youth because of their incidents, their behavior, how they react. So we don't got that old time tradition, where our neighbors will whoop you, whoop the next door neighbor's child. Yeah.
Been there.
Now the older people, they scared to even say anything to the young people because they think the young people might shoot them or might jump them or something like that. You know what I mean? So we have to discover that courage that we once wielded, as a culture and a community, and we have to exercise that. We have to have faith and confidence in what they say. Look, it takes a village to raise a child.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we gotta believe in that and apply that, act on that, and I think that's one of the biggest things that are causing our young people to stray. It's not, they can, it's social media, the things that influence them, and all of that stuff. But more than anything, if we had our own up close and personal influences on these young people, showing them like, look, this is how you get that. You ain't gonna be able to do none of that if you don't know how to do this. That ain't the way you go about getting what you think you want. But just being a real example to our loved ones, to our community, people in our community, that's gonna be, I think, one of the first steps that need to be taken. We have to start trusting in one another. That's the main thing, I think, that causes our divide. We do not trust one another at all. We don't trust one another enough. Even I see it in the streets. Going in on a sack of weed, $10, $5 a piece. They might be thinking, like, look, I know you ain't gonna give him the whole $10. It'll be the dumbest thing in the world. That identifies that distrust that is relevant. I mean, that lives within us in our community. And if we can't get over like some of these small things, if we can't figure this stuff out, it's going to be a continuous problem. So that's one of the reasons I try to use my influence to impact the best, impact young people to pull the best of what's inside of them out. Or, even troubled adults, like I said. I don't have no negative. I don't have nothing negative to give to anybody. No negative conversation. I don't have no negative example to give to nobody. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to be. It's going to take us walking and talking. The business of reform and change. And really trusting in our young people, believing in our young people, believing in ourselves, trusting in ourselves. I think that's going to have to happen.
That's so true, and it begins within each one of us. So you touched on it earlier. So when it came to these two books, who do you want these books to impact? If you do, just elaborate on that.
I want these books to impact the generation from the youth to the elders. And being so, the reason so is just what I just spoke on. The elders have a job as well.
We do.
So looking at Mel, looking at Harold, it doesn't matter how long he was entertaining the foolishness. He had a job to straighten up, to man up, to to place his influence positively on others around him. So some, because it's a lot of grown kids that I see every day in the community. Grown children doing this. I mean, grown as I don't know what, 50, 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Still pants sagging, hat cocked, all talking slang. Even our eloquence, our talking. You know what I mean? Our speech. Uh, that has an impact on the young people. If all they hear is slang, then they ain't gonna know how to speak, how to talk. If we have somebody talking, in a correct manner, speaking sense when they are talking, then that's all they'll know how to do. They only know what they can learn from us. So I don't even know how I got off track, Mr. Foster Graham. With that, I forgot where I was going. What the initial question was.
Was about who you want to impact with this book.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I wanna impact the elders and the youth. I want the youth to look at this reading, because I told you I think we had a personal conversation, and I
Mhm.
had mentioned my experience in prison and what I observed. I
Right.
observed a lot of individuals in prison taking the urban fictional novels, reading
Mhm.
it, and it be some fantasy stuff, but they try to take that fantasy and turn it into their reality. So what I want to do is this: if they take this information and they utilize the same system, they try to apply it to their life, then I want it to have a different impact on them. If they try to apply this information, what they read, what they think is urban fiction, if they apply this to their life, then they're going to have a different outcome than maybe some of the traditional urban fiction that they're reading when it's glorifying some of the wrong behaviors. So I want to impact the youth in the sense of, they can do other things. They can be businessmen, business kids, whatever, teenpreneurs, youthpreneurs, whatever it may be.
Yes.
Um, from while they're coming up in the midst of whatever's going on. You can take your skill set and you can strive. You can strive to thrive. To try to change your circumstances. So I want this to impact young people in that sense, and know, and more than anything, I want them to know. And they got real life examples around them. But I want them to know that the street life isn't all what they make it out to be. It's overrated. It's really overrated, you know. And I hope that they can get that message out of reading one of these books.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because when I was reading it, because I've read my share of urban fiction, but with yours, it definitely flips the script, and it's much needed to do just that. So, and with that, what is your next project?
Um, I've been working on um some back office stuff, but like programming. And one of the things that I plan on doing next is um rebirthing. To succeed, you must read.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm gonna do it from just one angle, one angle, and what that is going to be this. Because I noticed this in our young people in our community, um, that they're competitive about sports and they're competitive about, they're real competitive in the sense of everybody want their kids in football, basketball, whatever sport they can get them in. The parent gonna be there support them, or they may not, but uh, it's a lot of competition going on, and the physical form.
Mhm.
Um, and I want to start a trend to where our kids, our young people, our people are being just as competitive intellectually, academically. So
Indeed.
one of the things that I had done in the past is I had hosted a spelling bee. And in that spelling bee, I gave all the participants words of study. I gave all the participants at the end of the spelling bee trophies, the first and second place winners, big old life, gigantic trophies, because I wanted them to feel accomplished and pride in what they were doing.
Yes.
Um, so I want to do this spelling bee thing to create that competition amongst young people, that academic intellectual competition. And also I want one of our young people from our neighborhood to qualify or to become one of the Scripps spelling bee contestants.
Yes.
Scripps being the national spelling bee,
Yes.
across the United States. You know what I mean? I want one of our kids to come straight out of Minnesota to be one of the Scripps contestants.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. Because I saw the movie Aquila and the Bee, and interesting enough that life imitated art when a 14-year-old black girl won the Scripps spelling bee in real life. And so that was simply amazing. Now,
Yes, sir.
where can our readers and our viewers purchase your work?
You can Google it. Google me, Amazon. Um, some of the local publishing houses. Minnesota Black Ink. Um, Strive Publishing. Um, they can also visit my website. That way, they can get whatever it is that they'll get all the book titles. Well, all the book titles are available in the places that I just named as well. But I ship off all my books personally. So on my website, when you order a book, it'll give me all your information and all of that. I'll go on there and I'll personally inscribe your book and put it in there, and I send it to you. I send it off myself. So it's a personal touch to it. If that's something that you're interested in, because that's something that I'm interested in. Like, I know you got a one of those the backgrounds on your, like an imitation background, but this is my true library. One of the things that I do, and I'm gonna say this real quick, I give young people dictionaries, so it'll be their first book to build their library. Because in most houses in the urban neighborhoods, there is no libraries in their houses. When you go to rich, affluent people's houses, they have expansive libraries. You know what I mean? And that is indicative of something. You know what I mean? So, but one of the things I do have, and this is real small, this is just in my personal office up here, but I got an expansive library, and this is just, what books that I've read, that I refer to. But I got a whole section on here, and these are all books that have been. There go your book right there, Mr. Foster Brown.
Yeah, that's it. That's
But
it.
yeah, yes, it is. But these are all personally autographed books. So I collect, autographed books. Dr. Vernon Price, uh, man, Bert Burlow, they're from Minnesota. Compassionate Rebel number volume 1 and 2. Jessica Winnie, she's big in the Bill Rowdy. That's one of my personal mentors. Manhood to manhood, manhood from the hood.
Yes.
I even got Dr. Miles Monroe, Daniel Petty. I got some real jewels. But I believe that we all should have libraries in our homes. Um, and for the reason it is because our kids are so curious. If they allow their curiosity to lead them to the library, they're going to discover a whole lot of things that they may not have known of. Like they got that. The saying, if you don't want a black person to know something, put it in a book. So I'm always seeking and digging and trying to find out what's been hidden from me. Picking up books.
Indeed, indeed, AJ. We just have a few minutes left, so in closing, um, I've asked this question to authors. Looking at where you are today, and from all that where you are, what you've gone through, what are two or three things you would advise your 12-year-old self?
Um, One, to follow your instincts confidently. I'm trying to give these things when I'm not being elaborate, just short and sweet.
Right.
But follow your instincts confidently. Um, and I'm not saying this is how they should go in chronological order. Like one is one, two, three, and I like that.
Sure.
I'm
Understood.
just coming up with them. Another thing would be to never give up, and in the sense of anything that you start, anything you're pursuing, um, never give up. Um, Another thing that I would tell my 12-year-old self, I would advise my 12-year-old self is um, to maximize your potential. And saying that, I had that thought thinking about my school opportunities. Now, I mentioned in some of my introductions in my books that I'm a seventh grade dropout, and this is the truth. And now, I got an honorary degree. It went on, I got an honorary degree. Um, but I dropped out of school in the seventh grade. But I was a straight A student all the way up to then.
Yes.
But one of the things that had distracted that, the thing that did distract that was my interest in the streets, my interest in things that were not really relevant to the success as a man, or being a success in life, or even just obtaining my ideal of what success could be. I didn't allow myself to dream about success beyond it being um, a pharmaceutical measurement. So saying like a kilo, like you talking about the keys and all of that type of stuff. I allow that stuff to cloud my vision, my judgment, my drive, my skill, um, and it was just a total waste. You know, uh, looking looking back at that, and it all comes from just I think not having any inspiration in my life, no mentorship. This is another thing I'll tell a young person: find a mentor, find them, keep a mentor, find multiple mentors, find somebody doing what it is that you want to do in life. Pay
Most
close attention
definitely.
to them.
Most definitely. Well, Brother AJ, I thank you so much for your input, for your insight, and your contributions, and your gift with as a wordsmith and sharing your story today. I definitely appreciate you.
Thank you once again to the conversation with Al, Mr. McFarlane. Thank you, Brother W.D. Foster Graham, for having me today and allowing me to share with your audience and those that are in your network. And like I said, uh, I appreciate your support. I appreciate the way you support me. So the way that I can reciprocate that is by supporting you, showing up to your endeavors, showing up for you. I appreciate you very much, W.D. Foster Graham. You've been monumental in my literary career, by just for giving me the opportunity to showcase um, my projects, what it is that that I'm working on, the things I'm working on, the books that I publish. You're giving me a great outlet. I love you so much for that. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you. This is W.D. Foster Graham for the Conversation with Al McFarlane for our Book Chat Thursday, in which we featured Brother Albert A.J. Briscoe, also known as Bilo. So thank you, viewers. Hey, and you'll see you on the next go round.